The stack of legal documents crashed to the floor as Evelyn Joy's hands trembled, staring at the 5-year-old girl who had just walked into her new office at Dike Industries. The child wore coral beads around her tiny wrist, the exact same pattern Evelyn had sold 6 years ago to pay for her daughter's birth. "Mama, can I stay here while you work?" little Amelia asked, tugging at Evelyn's skirt with innocent eyes that held no understanding of the storm building in her mother's chest. Evelyn's heart pounded as she knelt down, examining the bracelet more closely. Those weren't just any coral beads. They were from her grandmother's collection, each one carved with the distinctive spiral pattern of her father's lineage. She had pawned them at the worst moment of her life, pregnant, abandoned, and desperate for money to survive. "Where did you get this beautiful bracelet, sweetheart?" Evelyn whispered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Uncle Henry gave it to me yesterday. He said it belonged to someone very special," Amelia replied, playing with the beads absently. The office door opened, and Henry Dike himself walked in. Tall, commanding, wearing the kind of expensive suit that spoke of old money and newer success. Evelyn had only seen him from a distance during her first week at the company, but up close, something about his face made her stomach twist with recognition she couldn't quite place. "Good morning, Evelyn. I hope you don't mind that I brought our young friend here to meet you properly," Henry said, his eyes fixed on Amelia with an intensity that made Evelyn uncomfortable. "She's been visiting our office quite often with Christina." Christina, Evelyn's elder sister, the woman who had disappeared from their family compound 6 years ago, right around the time Evelyn had discovered she was pregnant with no memory of the father's identity. Their parents had died in a car accident shortly after, leaving both sisters to fend for themselves in a world that showed little mercy to young women without family protection. "Christina is my sister," Evelyn said carefully, watching Henry's reaction. "I haven't seen her in years." Henry's expression shifted, something like surprise flickering across his features. "Your sister?" But she never mentioned she said she had no family. The pieces began forming a picture Evelyn didn't want to see. Christina had always been the clever one, the one who could charm her way out of any situation. When their parents died, Christina had insisted they should separate temporarily, just until things settled down, she had said. Evelyn, overwhelmed with pregnancy and grief, had agreed. "Mr. Dike," Evelyn said slowly, "how long have you known my sister?" 6 years, he replied, his voice growing quieter. "We've been together for 6 years. She's been helping me raise my son, Caleb." Amelia looked up at both adults, sensing the tension without understanding it. She touched the tribal marks on her forehead, 3 small lines that Evelyn's grandmother had given her as a baby following their family tradition. The same marks Christina bore, the same ones their grandmother had insisted were for protection and recognition. Henry noticed the marks too, his face going pale. Those tribal marks. They're identical to Christina's. "We're sisters," Evelyn repeated, but her mind was racing. Christina had been living with this wealthy man for 6 years, claiming to have no family, while Evelyn struggled alone with their father's debts and a child to raise. More disturbing was the timeline. Amelia was 5 years old, conceived 6 years ago, right around the time Christina had disappeared. "Mama, why does Uncle Henry look scared?" Amelia asked innocently. Evelyn lifted her daughter, holding her close while studying Henry's face. There was something familiar about his eyes, the way he moved, even the way he looked at Amelia with a mixture of wonder and confusion. A horrible possibility began forming in her mind, one that would explain everything and destroy everything at the same time. "Mr. Dike," she said quietly, "I think we need to talk, privately." Henry's private office felt smaller than usual as Evelyn sat across from him, Amelia coloring quietly in the corner with crayons he kept for visiting children. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions and growing dread. "Tell me about the night you met Christina," Evelyn said, her voice barely above a whisper. Henry loosened his tie, avoiding her eyes. "It was during the Yam Festival in my village, 6 years ago. I had drunk too much palm wine and—" He paused, shame creeping into his voice. "I barely remember what happened. When I woke up the next morning, she was there. She said I'd been in trouble, that she helped me get to safety." Evelyn's blood ran cold. The Yam Festival. She remembered that night with painful clarity now. She had gone to represent her late father at the ceremony, as was tradition for their family. Christina had insisted on coming along, claiming she wanted to help Evelyn through her first festival as an orphan. What did this woman look like? Evelyn asked, though she already knew the terrible answer. Beautiful. About your height with the same tribal marks. She wore a blue wrapper with gold threading. She said it was her grandmother's. Henry's description matched perfectly. It had been Evelyn's grandmother's wrapper, the one she had worn that night before Christina convinced her to switch clothes for fun. The memory hit Evelyn like a physical blow. Christina insisting they swap outfits. Christina sending her to get water from the far well while she watched their belongings. When Evelyn returned hours later, Christina was gone, and Evelyn had felt strangely disoriented, with gaps in her memory and a splitting headache. She drugged me, Evelyn whispered, the pieces finally falling into place. My own sister drugged me and took my place. Henry leaned forward, confusion clear on his face. What are you saying? I'm saying the woman you've been with for 6 years isn't the woman from that night. I am. Evelyn's voice grew stronger with each word. Christina has been living my life while I raised your daughter alone. That's impossible. Caleb is my son. Christina and we've built a life together. Evelyn stood up and walked to Amelia, gently touching her daughter's hair. Look at her, Henry. Really look at her. For the first time, Henry studied Amelia with new eyes. The child had his strong jawline, his deep-set eyes, even his habit of pressing his lips together when concentrating. The tribal marks weren't just similar to Christina's. They were identical to Henry's own grandmother's markings, a family tradition he had assumed Christina shared by coincidence. She has your grandmother's nose, Evelyn continued, the same one in the portrait hanging in your outer office, and watch this. She called softly to Amelia in their family's native dialect. Amelia looked up immediately, responding fluently in the same language, the language Henry's grandmother had spoken, the one he had unconsciously been teaching to the child he thought was Caleb's playmate. Henry's hands shook as he reached for his phone. I need to call Christina. I need to ask her about this. Don't, Evelyn's voice was sharp. If what I suspect is true, she's been lying to you for 6 years. What makes you think she'll tell the truth now? Henry stared at Amelia, who had resumed coloring, completely unaware that her world was about to change forever. If she's my daughter, then what about Caleb, Christina's son? Evelyn had met Caleb briefly when Christina visited their old neighborhood. The boy had been demanding and spoiled, nothing like the gentle child she was raising. More importantly, he showed none of the physical traits that Amelia shared with Henry. I think you already know the answer to that question, Evelyn said quietly. Henry stood abruptly, pacing to the window. 6 years of his life, 6 years of believing a lie, 6 years of supporting another man's child while his own daughter grew up in poverty. The weight of betrayal was crushing, but worse was the realization of what Evelyn had endured alone. Why didn't you try to find me? He asked, his voice breaking. I didn't remember you, Evelyn admitted. Whatever Christina gave me that night, it affected my memory. All I knew was that I was pregnant, alone, and ashamed. My parents were dead, my sister had vanished, and I had a child to protect. Amelia looked up from her coloring. Mama, why are you crying? Before Evelyn could answer, the office door burst open. Christina stood in the doorway, her face flushed with anger and panic, having clearly overheard enough of their conversation. So you finally found each other, she said, her voice dripping with venom. How touching. Christina stepped into the office like she owned it, her expensive jewelry catching the light as she moved. 6 years of living with Henry had transformed her from the village girl Evelyn remembered into someone who looked like she belonged in boardrooms and high society gatherings. Hello, sister, Christina said, her voice sweet but her eyes cold as ice. I wondered when you might turn up. Amelia looked between the two women, confusion written across her small face. Mama, who is this lady? She looks like you. I'm your Aunt Christina, sweetheart, Christina said, moving closer to the child. Though I suspect your mother hasn't told you much about me. Henry stood between them, his face a mixture of anger and disbelief. Christina, explain this. Now is Evelyn telling the truth about that night 6 years ago? Christina laughed, a sound without warmth. The truth? Which version would you prefer, Henry? The one where I'm the devoted woman who saved you and gave you a son? Or the one where my naive little sister got herself pregnant and abandoned? Stop talking in riddles, Henry demanded. Did you drug Evelyn and take her place that night? Oh, Henry, Christina sighed dramatically. You always were too trusting. Yes, I gave Evelyn something to help her sleep. She was so stressed about the festival, about representing our dead parents. I was just trying to help her relax. Evelyn felt sick. Help me relax. You stole my identity, my life, my child's father. I saved you from a life of judgment and shame. Christina shot back. You were always the weak one, Evelyn. You would never have survived raising a child alone while dealing with Henry's world. I did what was necessary. What was necessary? Henry's voice rose. You lied to me for 6 years. You let me believe Caleb was my son while my real daughter lived in poverty. Christina's mask finally slipped, revealing the desperation underneath. Caleb is your son now. You've raised him, loved him, provided for him. Blood doesn't matter when you build a family together. But it does matter, Evelyn said quietly, looking at Amelia. It matters because, while you were playing house with my life, I was selling my grandmother's jewelry to buy medicine for our daughter. It matters because I worked 3 jobs to put food on our table while you enjoyed comfort that should have been ours. Henry knelt down to Amelia's level, studying her face with new understanding. Sweetheart, do you know what your favorite food is? Pepper soup with goat meat, Amelia replied immediately. Just like you make it, Uncle Henry. Henry's eyes widened. It was his grandmother's recipe, one he had never shared with anyone except the child he thought was just Christina's daughter's friend. He had been unconsciously bonding with his own child all along. This is ridiculous, Christina snapped. Henry, you're letting sentiment cloud your judgment. We have a life together, a business partnership, social standing. Are you really going to throw that away for some poor lawyer and her bastard child? The word hit Evelyn like a slap, but it was Henry who exploded. Don't you ever call my daughter that word again, he roared, his voice echoing off the office walls. And don't pretend this is about business or society. This is about you being a liar and a thief. Christina's composure cracked completely. A thief? I gave you the best 6 years of your life. I made you respectable, gave you a family, helped build your reputation. Without me, you would still be the village drunk everyone whispered about. Without you, I would have known my daughter from birth, Henry said, his voice deadly quiet. Without you, Evelyn wouldn't have suffered alone for 6 years. Without you, none of us would be living this lie. Christina backed toward the door, her face contorting with rage and fear. Fine, you want the truth? You want to destroy everything we built? Then let me tell you something that will change everything. She turned to Evelyn with a cruel smile. That night wasn't the only time I protected our family secrets, sister. There are things about our parents' death you don't know. Things that would destroy you if they came to light. The room went silent except for Amelia's quiet humming as she continued coloring, oblivious to the adults' conversation. What are you talking about? Evelyn whispered. Christina's smile widened. Ask me again when you're ready to lose everything you think you know about our family. What secrets about our parents? Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper, but Henry heard the fear in it. Christina moved closer, her eyes gleaming with malicious satisfaction. You really don't remember anything from that night, do you? The festival wasn't the first time I had to clean up your mess, dear sister. Henry instinctively stepped between the 2 women, sensing danger. Christina, whatever game you're playing, stop it now. It's not a game, Christina hissed. Tell me, Evelyn, what do you remember about the night before our parents died? Evelyn's face went pale. They died in a car accident. You know that. Yes, but why were they driving so late at night? Why were they rushing to the next village? Christina's voice grew cold and calculated. They were coming to find you, sister. Coming to drag you home after you disappeared with some man. The office felt like it was spinning around Evelyn. That's not true. I was home that night. I was grieving, staying close to family. You were with Henry, Christina said triumphantly. Before the festival, before I had to switch places with you, you had already met him, already fallen for him. But you were too drunk, too ashamed to face our parents when they found out. So I told them you were missing, possibly in danger. Henry's mind raced. He remembered fragments now. A beautiful woman at a village bar 2 nights before the festival. Someone who had listened to his problems. Someone he had walked home safely. Someone who had kissed him goodbye. and promised to see him at the festival. That was Evelyn, he breathed, not you. Oh, Henry finally remembers. Christina clapped slowly. Yes, it was Evelyn you fell for first. Evelyn you made promises to. But when she ran away in shame after our parents died rushing to find her, I stepped in to save everyone. Evelyn sank into a chair, the weight of realization crushing her. Our parents died because of me. No, Henry said firmly, moving to her side. Your parents died because of a car accident. Christina, you're twisting the truth to hurt her. Am I? Christina pulled out her phone, scrolling to an old message thread. Read this, Henry. It's from our father the night he died. She showed him the screen. Henry read aloud, his voice growing quieter with each word. Christina, we found Evelyn's note. She says she's made a terrible mistake with some man and can't face us. We're driving to find her now. If something happens to us, make sure she knows we love her. Evelyn covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I left a note. I don't remember writing any note. Because you were drunk and heartbroken, Christina said matter-of-factly. You thought Henry had rejected you after that first night. You didn't know he was looking for you too. So you destroyed both our lives to protect some imagined family honor? Henry's anger was building again. I protected our family name. I made sure Evelyn didn't become the village scandal. I took her place, gave you the relationship you wanted, and raised your child when she proved too weak to handle the responsibility. You drugged her, Henry shouted. You stole her memories of our first meeting so she wouldn't remember falling in love with me. Amelia looked up from her coloring, frightened by the raised voices. Mama, why is everyone shouting? Evelyn wiped her tears and knelt beside her daughter. It's okay, sweetheart. The adults are just having a difficult conversation. Are you sad because of the mean lady? Amelia asked, glancing at Christina. The simple question from an innocent child cut through all of Christina's justifications. Here was a 5-year-old who could see clearly what the adults had been struggling to understand. Yes, baby, Evelyn said softly. But not anymore. Christina's phone buzzed with an incoming call. She glanced at the screen and her face went white. It's Dominic, she whispered. Who is Dominic? Henry asked. Caleb's real father, Christina admitted quietly. And he just got out of prison. The office door slammed open as a rough-looking man stormed in, his eyes wild with rage and desperation. Christina, you thought you could hide from me forever. Dominic's voice filled the room with menace. You owe me 6 years of child support payments. Henry immediately moved to shield Evelyn and Amelia as Dominic advanced into the office, his clothes rumpled and his eyes bloodshot with desperation and anger. Christina, where's my son? Where's Caleb? Dominic demanded, ignoring everyone else in the room. I've been in prison for 6 years because of your lies, and now I find out you've been living like a queen while my boy thinks some rich man is his father. Christina backed against the wall, all her earlier confidence evaporating. Dominic, please, we can discuss this privately. No more private discussions, Dominic roared. No more lies. I want my son, and I want the money you've stolen from me by letting another man raise him. Henry stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Sir, I don't know what arrangement you had with Christina, but there's a child in this room. Please lower your voice. Dominic looked at Henry with contempt. You're the fool who's been paying for my kid all these years? Did you know she was already pregnant when she moved in with you? Did you know she's been laughing at you behind your back, calling you her useful idiot? The words hit Henry like physical blows, but he remained steady. What I know is that Caleb deserves better than this chaos. If you're his father, then we need to handle this properly, through the courts. Courts? Dominic laughed bitterly. Like the court that sent me to prison on her false testimony? Like the court that will believe a rich man over an ex-convict? Evelyn quietly pressed a button under Henry's desk, the silent alarm that would alert security. She had noticed it during her first week at the company, never imagining she would need to use it. Christina, Evelyn said quietly, is what he's saying true? Were you already pregnant when you moved in with Henry? Christina's silence was answer enough. 6 years, Henry said, his voice hollow with realization. 6 years of believing I was building a family when I was just being used by both of you. That's not fair, Christina protested. I cared for you, Henry. I made you happy. You made yourself comfortable, Evelyn corrected. While I worked 3 jobs to feed your sister's child, you were playing house with stolen identity and stolen life. Security guards appeared in the doorway, but Henry waved them back with a subtle gesture. He wanted to handle this himself. Dominic, Henry said calmly, if Caleb is your son, then he needs stability, not this anger and chaos. What do you really want here? Dominic's rage seemed to deflate slightly. I want my boy to know who his real father is, and I want Christina to pay for the years she stole from both of us. Then let's do this right, Henry replied. DNA tests for everyone, legal custody arrangements, financial support discussions, but no more lies, no more deception. He turned to Christina, his voice final. You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. Security will escort you. If you ever contact me, Evelyn, or Amelia again, I'll press charges for fraud and identity theft. Christina's face crumpled. Henry, please, where will I go? What will I do? You should have thought about that 6 years ago, Evelyn said quietly. You made your choices. Now live with them. As security led Christina and Dominic away to sort out their own complicated situation, the office fell silent except for Amelia's quiet humming as she continued coloring. Uncle Henry, Amelia said suddenly, looking up with innocent eyes. Are you my daddy? Henry knelt down to her level, his heart breaking and healing at the same time. Yes, sweetheart, I'm your daddy, and I'm sorry it took me so long to find you. Amelia smiled brightly. It's okay. Mama said good things are worth waiting for. Henry looked at Evelyn, seeing not just the woman who had suffered because of his mistakes, but the strong, loving mother who had raised their daughter with grace and dignity despite everything. Evelyn, he said softly, I know we have a lot to work through, a lot of lost time to make up for, but I want us to be a real family, all 3 of us. Evelyn smiled through her tears, finally allowing herself to hope. I'd like that very much. Outside the office windows, the Lagos sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. For the first time in 6 years, Evelyn felt like she was exactly where she belonged. Come on, Henry said, taking both their hands. Let's go home. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment at the comments section below.